Good evening. I am your host, Old Iron Lungs, and you are tuned in to the Trench Lines. Today's episode, we will be discussing freedom. What is freedom? Where did freedom come from? What does freedom actually mean? And how does freedom play a role in our lives today? We will dig into all of these. Freedom. Many people have it. Everyone actually has it. It's a birthright for human beings. You're given freedoms at birth. Your government doesn't give you these freedoms. Your religion doesn't give you these freedoms. You being a human being gives you these freedoms. Having the ability to think for yourself. But for you to understand freedom, let's break down freedom by definition. Freedom is the ability to act or change without constraint. Something is free if it can easily change and is not constricted in its present state. In philosophy and religion, it's associated with having free will and being without undue or unjust constraint or enslavement. Yeah, that sums it up pretty well right there. Now, for some of you, for some reason, who don't know what free will is, allow me to dig into that. Free will is the ability to choose between different possible courses of action without being impeded. That's free will. Freedom is the idea closely related and rooted in the concept of liberty. Liberty is the ability to do not as a group or a government, but as one, as the individual pleases. In modern politics, liberty is the state of being free within a society from control or oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, beliefs, behaviors, or political views. Yeah, that's very important. Let me read that again to you. In modern politics, liberty is the state of being free within the society from control or oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behaviors, beliefs, or political views. Very relevant to our day and age today. A person, an individual, has freedoms to do things that will not, in theory, in practice, or reality, be prevented by other forces. Freedom, political freedom, is associated with autonomy. Autonomy is the ability to make an informed, uncoerced decision. Autonomous organization or institutions are independent or self-governed. Unfortunately, we do not have autonomous organizations anymore. They are in symbiosis with the government. They work hand in hand. Along with rights, civil liberties, which are to be exercised without undue interference by the state or the government, include freedom of assembly, freedom of association, freedom of choice, and most importantly, freedom of speech. Now, a lot of us don't understand freedom. So I understand that a lot of us won't understand civil liberties. So I will break down these civil liberties a little bit so you further get a better grasp. Freedom of assembly is the right of an individual or the ability of people to come together and collectively express, promote, pursue, or defend their collective or shared ideas or ideals. Freedom of association encompasses both an individual's right to join or leave groups voluntarily, the right of the group to take collective action to pursue the interest of its members, and the right to accept or decline membership on certain criteria. That's right. If you don't support freedom, I don't want you in my group. If you think that sacrificing freedom is a good case in any case, I don't want you in my group. Sorry. Freedom of choice is an individual's opportunity and autonomy to perform an action selected from at least two available options, unconstrained by external parties or forces. I feel like that freedom has been assaulted as well. I feel like there's only one choice. Here's a very important one. Freedom of speech is the principle that supports the freedom of an individual or a community to articulate or express their opinions and ideas without fear of retaliation, censorship, legal sanctions from the government. Freedom of expression is used synonymously. Let me repeat that one again because that one's pretty important. Freedom of speech is the principle that supports the freedom of individuals or a community to articulate or express their opinions, ideas, without fear of retaliation, censorship, of legal sanctions from the government. Or corporations should be added, because corporations nowadays are as powerful as the government, if not more powerful. In some circumstances, particularly when discussion is limited to political freedoms, the term freedom and liberty tend to be used interchangeably. However, subtle distinctions between freedom and liberty have been noted. Liberty differentiates from freedom in that freedom is primarily, if not exclusively, the ability to do as one wills and as one has the power to do. Whereas liberty concerns the absence of arbitrary restraints and takes into account the rights of all involved. As such, the exercise of liberty is subject to the capability and limited by the rights of others. Yes, that's what the difference of liberty and freedom. Liberty involves everyone's freedoms, and freedoms involve individuals' freedoms. Now, I'll dive a little bit into the history of freedoms, but now that you have a further understanding of what freedom actually means, you have a better concept of what being free means. Let's see the history. And I won't dive extremely deep into the history because I'll be here forever. I'm just going to touch on a couple points in history, a couple notes. The political terminology developed in classical Greece and Rome. Aristotle noted there was a long history of city-states with a wide variety of constitutions, not only in Greece but also in the Middle East, dating all the way back to Sumeria. The first battle for freedom happened in 490 BC when some 9,000 plus citizen soldiers of Athens formed ranks on the plains by the Bay of Marathon to engage in battle with the Persians. After an 8-day standoff, a vote was elected and cast. I believe it was tied and someone broke the vote. They voted to attack the Persians. Although they were extremely outnumbered, they found a way to miraculously overcome those odds and be victorious. Now, I'm not a historian, but I'm pretty sure that battle was not very significant in the amount of casualties and deaths. But where it was significant, one, Greece and Rome ended up developing culturally without being influenced by other governments such as Persia, which enabled the philosophies of freedom to develop and grow into what we have today. And two, it showed the princes and the subjects of King Darius that he was not a god, that he was a human, that he did have faults, which caused them to revolt and riot and uprise. and it took a considerable amount of time to suppress the rebellions. The Persian War made the leaders of the Greek world become the first democracy, which is very true. And then you also have, later down the road, the American Revolution and the French Revolution, and they took their ideas of the Constitution off of the old Roman Republic, and also off of the natural law traditions and the experience they felt underneath the oppressive English rule. So that's how the Declaration of Independence was drawn up. And then it led to the Bill of Rights and civil rights, and you also have the French Revolution, which was another big fight for freedom. Now, a lot of people are willing to sacrifice their freedoms. What do they sacrifice their freedoms for, though? Well, 9 out of 10 times, actually I'm pretty sure it's every time, unless you have no choice, you're sacrificing your freedoms for security. You're saying, you know what, I will sacrifice a little bit of my freedom so I can feel safe and secure. Well, Benjamin Franklin is quoted saying, "Those who give up essential liberties to purchase a little bit of temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety," which is just very true. Because free men don't need to be hidden behind a cage or stone walls to be free. You're free, and I'm free, and that's the way it's going to be. Another good quote is saying, "If you want total security, go to prison. You're fed, you're clothed, you're given medical care, you're given shelter. The only thing lacking is freedom." And that's Dwight D. Eisenhower, which that's a very true statement. If you want security, go to prison. If you're scared, go to prison. You'll have everything essential provided for you, except for freedom, but you don't want freedom anyway, so it's like free housing. It's great. Today our freedoms are slowly being chipped away, one at a time. Doesn't matter what country you're living in, honestly. Every single country is under assault on freedom. American freedoms slowly are being chipped away for censorship, or social inequity, or systemic racism. Excuse me. I'm not going to dive into systemic racism in this episode. That will be a further episode. But the point is they have different causes and reasons and logic, they claim, to strip away your freedom. Like medical safety. Oh, it's alright. Just lock yourself in your home for a couple weeks. We're trying to save lives. No, you're actually killing lives. You're taking lives. The people who are locked in their homes are depressed and suicidal, and they're shut out from society, and they're shut out from the things that make them normal and happy. That's why depression and suicide is through the roof in 2020. Another assault is the assault on sovereign nations by opening borders. And when I say opening borders, I mean opening borders, not just allowing migrants to immigrate. No, they're just opening the borders, saying, come one, come all. If you can cross this patch of land, you're in, bud. So, and with that being said, let's note the assaults on humanity that are happening down there. The Texas border, for instance. Those people are crossing countries to come here. They're hopping their children up on birth control meds because they're being raped and sexually assaulted just for them to get a little bastion of what they believe and hope is freedom, which unfortunately they have a rude awakening when they realize that they're coming to a country that's slowly losing all of their freedoms. In no time it'll be just like the place they escaped, those oppressive socialistic countries they left in Southern America that just print out money and oppress the people. That's why they left. They didn't leave because of global climate change. They left because oppressive governments and their inability to live a normal, free life. And on those indignities that are happening at the border, it's not only sexual assault, it's human trafficking, it's murder, it's drug cartels are involved, it's a lot more in depth than just a migrant family who decided to leave their country. And they didn't just decide to leave out of the blue. They did it because of politics. It's all about politics. It's all about power and control. How do you get power and control? Power and control is obtained through conquer and divide. Conquer and divide, and then people ask why and how do we fix this, and then here comes the big hero with the one world government or the one corporation with all the answers. So all of those indignities on humans in the Texas border, where those poor people are going through hell and back just to get a little taste of freedom. And they're sacrificing our freedoms just to give them what? They're giving them money and providing them everything they need, which is, you know what? Good for them. I'm glad that you guys found a way to get the handouts. Because at the end of the day, those handouts are going to mean nothing for you. Not going to mean a damn thing. And the assaults on freedom don't stop here. You have Canada, in the UK, and Europe, all facing extreme lockdowns, extreme oppressive overhaul of their systems. And what I mean by overhaul is they're claiming the crisis, the virus crisis, the spooky virus, is sufficient enough to strip away all of their rights and freedoms and force them into taking a vaccine they may not be comfortable with taking. That's not right. People have the right to choose between what they want to do and what they take and what they put in their body. So I don't believe that people should be forced into vaccines, and I don't believe that government should be installing passports, because that's a massive assault on freedoms. That means I cannot live my life normally and freely without going through all of those steps of getting the vaccine and getting a doctor's note and getting the passport and getting it all signed and getting it approved. No, and that's not right. And you shouldn't be forcing people to do that. And forcing people into lockdowns and forcing people to hide in their homes, all for the sake of medical safety. You're saving lives. No, you're costing lives. You're taking lives by forcing people into massive depressions that lock them in their homes and have been proven not to be effective against anything except for suicide. It's the only thing that lockdowns are effective at is suicide. So if you're looking for a little bit of suicide, lock yourself in your home for a few weeks, and I'm sure you'll be there mentally ready to take that next drastic step. And God, hope you don't. I hope that you find a little light. I hope you find what you need. I hope you find a little strength and a little courage. And I hope you find, if it's God, or if it's hope, or if it's just inspiration, I hope you find humanity. Now, you want to talk a little more about humans losing their freedoms, humans losing their rights. Go to China. Look what they're doing to the Uyghur people. Now, I will touch up on this further in a later episode. But right now, I'm just going to briefly touch on how those Uyghur people, who are, if I'm not mistaken, they're Muslims, and they're being persecuted because they're Muslims, and the Chinese government claim that they're persecuting them due to extremism. I think dating back to some type of attack in 2008 or something. I'm not 100% sure on these dates, but so they started persecuting these people. They started imposing more strict laws, enforcing surveillance and keeping an eye on them. And as things got worse and escalated, then they started having police sitting outside their homes and harassing them and not allowing them to live life normally in society. Then it got even more extreme, and then they started disappearing these people and sending them to re-education camps, which, let's all be realistic, if you're being sent to what looks like a prison building, you're not being re-educated, you're being imprisoned. And chances are there's a lot worse going on behind those closed doors. There's been lots of reports of sexual assault, of rape, of murder, of body harvest. And there's millions and millions of these people that are being persecuted, that are being genocided. And our government claims what? It's a cultural difference. Give me a break. It's a cultural difference. How is it a cultural difference for you to genocide someone because of their beliefs or their viewpoints? And the honest truth is that that's what we're all facing in every single country on this entire planet. Eventually, every country will have their own group that are just like those Uyghur people. Whether it be the white extremists in America, or the national conservatives in Canada, or the right-wingers in Europe, or just the libertarians in Germany, or just the people who want to breathe a little oxygen in Israel. All of you people are going to be facing the same exact thing that those people in China face. Those Uyghur people are facing right now is going to be your reality soon. Unless you comply, unless you lay down and say, yes, sir, where do you want me to take it? Because that's what they're asking. That's what they want. They want yes men. They don't want anyone to stand up. They don't want anyone to fight. But I'll tell you one thing. If I ain't free, I'm not living. So I will fight. I will be here every single day. I will not stop. I will dig in. So the fight for freedom starts with you. The fight for freedom starts with me. The fight for freedom starts with us all. Don't let freedom disappear from your life. Don't let freedom get taken away from you. And don't let your neighbors or your friends have their freedom stripped. Even if you don't agree with them. Even if you don't like their political viewpoints. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We all bleed red. We all cry tears. We all feel love. We all feel happiness and sadness. We are all the same. We just have slight different beliefs or slight different viewpoints. But at the end of the day, we are humans. Human beings together on this planet. So, and I really honestly don't, there are racist people out there, but I do not think that the majority of society is racist or extremists or trying to get other people in society. I don't think that. I just hope that people have a little bit more morality in them. And on that big giant shell, we will see you in the next trench. I'm your host, Old Iron Lungs. I suggest you grab a shovel and dig in, because we're not going anywhere. I'll see you in the next trench.